You're listening to the It's a Tech podcast, an engaging conversation about game-changing technology solutions being advanced by the state's Office of Information Technology Services. Learn how we make IT happen for 53 state agencies and 20 million New Yorkers while helping government leaders deliver for New York. Welcome to the first episode of the new It's a Tech podcast. For those who don't know, ITS is the IT service provider for more than 50 state agencies and gives advice and support to numerous other state and local entities. During COVID, we enabled tens of thousands of state workers to work remotely in support of their own agencies and ensured uninterrupted access to state programs and services. Right now, ITS is delivering solutions to many of the key challenges facing New York State government leaders, such as enhancing the state's overall cybersecurity posture, implementing the governor's customer experience agenda, ushering in the next phase of AI and digital transformation, and building the workforce of the future. Our topic this week is cybersecurity. By way of context, ITS is charged with protecting the state's systems from cyber intrusion and attack. The threats we face today are more numerous and more sophisticated and potentially more dangerous than ever. And because of its size and its standing in both government and in the financial world, New York is always a target for cybercriminals. Safeguarding our overall environment is a big challenge, but thanks to the tools we have and our talented and hardworking cyber professionals, we are ready to tackle it.
All right, my name is Drew Rai. Hello, everybody. I'm the Chief Information Officer for New York State and the Director of ITS. So we are an agency which provides technology services to all executive agencies and to non-executive agencies. We have a team of 4,000 or so people, which we deploy all over the state, and we serve, as I said, all the agency who serves all New York residents and New York citizens. I'm really glad to have my first podcast with you guys, and today I have one of the coolest team I can have. So there are four major initiatives as far as I'm concerned working with the governor. Number one is cybersecurity, and we're gonna get in detail of that. The other three are the AI and business transformation, the customer experience. Governor is very focused on improving the digital services we provide and improving the customer experience. And last is building a workforce for the future. So today we're going to be spending time on cybersecurity, and we're going to specifically have a couple of folks from our team and what we call Red Team. Now, the folks who don't know what Red Team is a pretend bad guys. So their job is to act like bad guys. Their job is to simulate what bad guys are doing all day. So picture this. You know, you walk in a room, it's a dark room. People have the hoodies, dark hoodies, and they are just hacking and doing all kinds of, what you will consider illegal stuff. And that's what we have. So today we have Mark and Jared with us. Thank you for coming in, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm really delighted to hear your side of the story. So, just a starting point, I'll let you guys take turns. Just tell us who you are and what's your background and something about how did you come to this place. And just tell us, without spilling the secrets, what are the cool stuff you guys do?
Yeah, so thank you again for having us. Super excited to be here on the first podcast. My name is Jared Hoffman, manager on the Red Team. So I've been with the state 15 years, the last 3 with ITS in this role as Red Team manager. Been fantastic. Prior to that, what got me going in information security was I was doing some state and local government auditing for other agencies. I have some experience in incident response and some in-house penetration testing and stuff like that. Always been drawn to the hacking side of it, right? So I liked working with The way you described it there with the lights off and the hoodies up and the cool terminals and typing and scripting always was a draw for me. I always was drawn to the exploitation side of penetration testing, accessing the system and getting the data. I was able to kind of, do some work in that area and had the opportunity to join Mark in 2022, and it's been fantastic ever since. Been doing some fantastic work, hitting a lot of home runs for in terms of bettering the security posture of New York State, engagement by engagement.
Cool, absolutely. My name is Mark Belansky. Started with the state, I'm going to date myself, back in the late 90s. Windows 95 was still on the desktops back then, and I actually started in desktop support. I did a lot of things at that agency, moved on to servers and networking, you name it, I had my hands into it, and gained a lot of experience. Moved on to the Office of Cybersecurity in 2007. I was leading the incident response team, and I did that for many years. Office of Cybersecurity eventually merged into ITS in 2012, so I've been here since the beginning at ITS.
So let me ask you guys, what education training you need to get to this kind of cool job?
I think any IT background is going to help you be good at security.
Jared, what do you think?
I'd say just by the nature of the work that we do day in, day out, having some technical experience is going to be a fantastic foundation. You can get that from software development, server administration, networking, things like that. Hands to keyboard roles are always going to be good to get going.
Yeah.
But when you're coming into information security, especially from other areas of IT, there's a learning curve. There's a lot in it. There's a lot going on. So you really need a level of perseverance, determination, right? Kind of continual improvement in education and growth in this field. And you could say that about any field that you want to succeed in, but in information security, there's definitely going to be a level of, just hard work and dedication to get where you want to go.
You got to have that drive, where I can't sleep until I figure this out.
Absolutely.
Really, that's really cool. So what a typical day, typical day being the keyword, looks like for this team? Like, what do you guys think and plan and do?
So really, it's a kind of a cliche to say every day is different, right? It's like it's coming new. But with the cadence that we get new engagements, new targets, new systems, new application, there might be some general underlining themes that are the same, but, it's always something new and fresh. And really, when I walk into the office every day, at any point of the engagement, I'm at some point of the attack kill chain. I'm doing some level of hacking, be it I'm researching, doing discovery, enumeration, or maybe I'm doing full-on exploitation and doing some custom tool development and stuff like that. So it's really hands-on in terms of offensive security testing, primarily on a daily basis. We have our admin days where we have, stakeholder meetings, we report out and report development and things like that. But the majority of it is that hands-on hacking. And I think another big piece of Red Team is maintaining that competitive edge, right? We got to make sure that the service that we're providing in terms of offensive security emulation is matching the kind of adversaries that we're seeing, attacking New York State. So we're constantly sharpening the blade, hitting trainings up, be it commercial or on our own research, just to make sure that we're, staying up. And there's something, I'm sure it's in a lot of fields, but there's something that I struggle with a lot. It's called imposter syndrome, where it's like, no matter how hard I work, it's always in my head that somebody's working harder. So that kind of drive just kind of keeps it going to be like, hey, let's make sure that this Red Team is top notch.
Good. So Mark, again, it's hard to justify to taxpayer, it's like, oh, we have a bad guys in our team. The full-time job is to do the, what an illegal person will do. I can't even think of the mindset you come up with, I don't have that mindset. We have to all do stuff within the law. How do you guys prepare yourself? What do you think? It's like, what are you going to go do a bank heist or how do you think when you think about red teams? Like, what is that thinking pattern for your team and team members?
Well, the bad guys don't follow any rules or laws, so you really have to think outside the box. And when you're going, testing systems, you want to leverage them in any way possible. Sometimes, not what they were intended to do, and you just use them in any way you can to obtain your objective, which is usually money or data or both.
So at this point of time, right, I have this questions like, we are government and we do have a lot of data for our citizens. Can you guys think of like what is the difference between people who attack us or do harm to us than say a private sector, where the motive might be, motive might be financials everywhere, but why we need to think red team in government versus some other private sectors? Like, what could be the difference? And the reason I'm asking this question is like, again, thinking like, how do you guys think? What are the bad stuff I'm gonna go try do so that I can simulate that?
Data is often the goal for us, and data is worth money. The government also has a lot of money in programs, and there's a lot of criminals out there too trying to take advantage of those systems. So we look at those systems and try and look for loopholes, weaknesses, things like that, and try and make sure that data is safe and can't be accessed in any way that it shouldn't, and so on.
I think the difference could be in terms of the type of private industry that they're in. If they're doing research and development, it's definitely the data. People are trying to get at the proprietary data and try to steal it and resell it and things like that. The caveat being, for the state of New York, we have pretty much the gauntlet, right? So we have civilian data that people want to get their hands on, social security numbers, medical records, things like that. We have financials, like the state comptroller, and the managing the retirement fund is a huge financial target that people are constantly going after and things like that. And then just the breadth of all our systems, right? We have a very large enterprise with a lot of endpoints and touch points. So we're a lucrative target to go after consistently. I would say the red team for the government and a red team for the private industry probably operate in a very same manner, right? We probably do the same type of tradecraft, which is, how we approach hacking and the kind of techniques that we do. It's just the end goal may be different between them. So maybe, on the private side, and I'm working for Boeing, I'm trying to get at that airplane data, where here on the government side, I'm trying to get after your DMV record or things like
tax
that.
Record.
Or tax record, right? So, the attack themselves will be similar, just the end goal of what they're trying to draw out will be. But Mark's absolutely right. At the end of the day, the majority of it is data. I mean, there's a price on data, especially, in the dark web, being able to offload and sell that,
and ultimately money,
right? Really,
so
everything
what drives it.
Data turns into money, and very lucrative. Hacking is a very lucrative
business.
position.
It's a business, and they have HR departments. It's just a regular job for these guys. They do
Absolutely.
it all day long, every day, just like we do.
That's actually true. You got to face that fact that these adversaries and these nation states, like, there's really no good opportunities for them. And they turn to hacking as a job, as a position, and they go into the office every day with their lunch like we do, and they attack and attack and attack. So, in retrospect, having a team like us is almost a necessity because we're constantly facing that type of, barrage.
Got it. To a layperson who doesn't know, technology, it's like, what is the penetration testing? Like, what does this look like? Can you guys help us out so we can explain to general public what is the penetration testing?
Sure. So, we're often asked to take a look at systems never seen before and become an expert rather quickly, break it down to its parts, and try and find areas of weakness, maybe areas that we can take advantage of, and then exploit those to gain access to that data or make some fraudulent transactions in some way, and then write up a report that explains how we did it, and make some recommendations on what needs to be done to correct it, and drive ourselves to a better security posture.
Cool. Pig butchering. I'm sure you guys know what that means, but now using sort of the emotional aspect of people, like dating sites, where you think you are talking to somebody you're going to date, and somehow kind of investing time and emotions over weeks, and ultimately take you to a crypto investment, and then obviously steal all your money. I wonder how like a red team can help. You guys have any stories or highlights, or I'm really fascinated by this pig butchering concept, which I don't know if you know this. It's actually a Chinese word where I forgot the Chinese title, but it's really a way to emotionally connect, and you think you're talking to romantically getting involved. Next thing you know, and it's going to be a very legitimate way of dealing with that. It's like, oh, well, we have a cryptocurrency platform, and you're going to say, well, this sounds normal. It's my username, it's my platform. I just put a $500, and so on and so forth. 6 months down the line, you find that your whole retirement saving of $250,000 is gone.
Right.
So I find this fascinating, and I was like, how would my red team, or any red team for that matter, kind of simulate the emotional aspect of human being? There's really not technical thing here, because people are just
social engineering,
right?
Absolutely.
So how does the red team think about social engineering?
I mean, Mark probably has a lot of better stories for it, but just from a red team approach, what you just described is really the long run social engineering, right? I'm not going to try to get you to click this link off this first email. I'm going to try to draw you in and really gain your trust, and then hit you with the big scam. In terms of red teaming, social engineering is definitely a strong part of it, right? So we're like Mark was saying, by any means necessary, get into that system. And I think intuition is, you got to, hack the computer, hack this. But the people are one click away, one phone call, one text from just gladly giving you that data. And that. So all your security controls kind of go out the window. So when it's a red team, when we're focusing on that, we'll do a lot of recon and discovery stuff of who are the individuals, what drives them. Is there anything out on the internet that I can gather from open source intelligence to kind of like, mold my scam, for lack of a better term, to really draw this person in? Do I know their interests? I'm aware of their interests. Okay, my phishing email is going to be about that because I have a high likelihood that they're going to open it or read that or something like that. So it's definitely a component. And, another way that we do social engineering too on the web application side is, so if we're doing a pen test that has a web component to it, we'll absolutely leverage any access we get to attack other users by sending them like fake messages and fake
login page.
Exactly. And try to, even when we're in the application, try to branch out horizontally and attack those other users. So we definitely a key component of a good red team engagement. It's not all just fingers and keyboards. It's more kind of analytical, like how can I deceive this person? So it definitely has that aspect to it.
Yeah,
Mark,
while doing incident response, we worked a lot with law enforcement, and I've heard countless stories about people getting taken advantage of through exactly what you're talking about. Romantic schemes where they feel like they're in love and they're doing a favor or whatever it might be for this other person. Often they're money mules, or they trick them to invest their own money. And it's sad. A lot of people lose a lot. But it happens every day. You just got to be diligent, be careful. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Really.
So when we buy a lot of systems, we implement a lot of new stuff all the time. All kinds of architecture. I know that we have a whole security analysis when we buy and install and deploy and go live. How does Red Team kind of get involved in some of those things, either preemptively or post? Can you guys tell us, how do you guys involved in those kind of new stuff coming in and deployment?
Sometimes we're asked to participate in evaluations and things like that, and we're often also asked to test. So try to circumvent that new security gadget, whatever it might be, and see how easy we can get around it, and then work with the blue team so that they can find ways to detect us when we're doing so. So the goal at the end of the day, again, is just to raise the bar across the board.
And I think that's what we're really pushing to our counterparts in the ISO's office, who have more of a direct relationship with clients, with the agencies, is that get us in early, right?
Yeah.
Get us in before you ideally go live, but get us in where you've got a complete product, or have
Close.
some level of completion, where we can go in and evaluate and give us some time to really grind on it. Because
That's
an evaluation, that's the
having
key.
the time to test it thoroughly and leave time to make those corrections
and fixes at the end before something goes. I think, evaluating on paper is easy, but when we kind of put it through the ringer is really where, the expertise comes out. I think a lot of security automation testing and scanning has limitations, right? They can tell you a point in time or a page in time, yes, this is some injection vulnerability. But it's our approach where we'll go to that next level and we'll start thinking of the business logic. We'll start thinking of what is this application supposed to do, like A to B, and what are the different roles that are in play here, and how can I manipulate that to get data, maybe become admin, be able to access somebody else's data and then overtake that or exfiltrate that or something like that. So definitely a lot of different techniques and kind of tactics that we're going to use in that type of engagement.
One of the things which is happening for the last few years, or 10 years I would say at least, is this everybody moving to cloud. It's like once upon a time we had things under our control, our data center, our network, blah blah blah. Right now it's not just one cloud, it's like a multi-cloud, and then your integration of those clouds, and then those integration of the cloud to our applications. And then how do you see the cybersecurity and specifically red team involvement and help, because the cloud is coming, whether we like it or not. It's all going to be how fast we can move data from point A to point B. And how do you guys think about like the advent of cloud and cybersecurity getting complicated, and specifically what red team can do to help as we move forward?
And we have been involved in some testing of cloud things already. It's at the end of the day, cloud is just another computer. So to us, it's the same, but it does. When you have some things on site and some things in the cloud, or multiple clouds from different sources, and they need to share data, it leaves a lot of opportunity for maybe mistakes to happen. And that's what we look for. We look for data sharing or session sharing or things like that, where people are doing authentication tokens and passing them around, and we see if we can hop in the middle and maybe escalate our privilege, gain access to things we shouldn't. It's definitely a lot more complicated, and there's certainly a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong.
The cloud definitely gives me second thoughts. Just like Mark is saying, it's inevitably just somebody else's computer and not ours at the data center. And I think cloud's already here, right? I mean, Office 365, those types of solutions are already out there, and we have, utilized in some capacity. I would say with cloud, it's definitely our role of it should be at the forefront, because I feel like as it relates to cloud and they're implementing solutions and stuff like that, a vendor will be like, oh, they'll cover all the low-hanging fruit of security, and they're like, oh, we're super secure from cross-site scripting and SQL injection and stuff like that. But the product that you're giving doesn't really have a lot of the logic and controls behind it. I almost feel like sometimes they just don't hit the checkbox when they go to deploy from their cloud portal in terms of an additional layer of security. So when we're going into the cloud and we're testing a lot of those stuff, like Mark was saying, a lot of that stuff will just bleed out of it, where you thought, hey, this is a new modern solution. Why am I seeing this kind of stuff? Because we tend to make the same mistakes that we made on-prem into the cloud. And the worst scenario would be transitioning those mistakes from on-prem, and when I say on-prem, I mean on-premise at the agency, up into the cloud, right? So making sure that any issues or concerns we have in the network should probably be addressed before we go into that new environment. So,
you can't make the assumption just because it's some popular vendor who operates a cloud globally that it's absolutely going to be done right every time. We've been asked to test things. It's, just take a look at this. I'm sure you'll find nothing, but then we find all kinds of things wrong. So don't make those assumptions.
Those are the most interesting meetings, too.
Yes.
Where the expectation is, hey, we did all our scanning with Akinetics and Qualys and stuff like that, and our source code's good and our application's good. You're probably not going to see anything. We'll give you 2 weeks.
We'll give you
we
have
it
it
all
all
wrapped
that
up.
Box that the pen test was
Exactly.
done, and then we come back
10
and say,
business
well,
days.
There's some problems here, and people are often very surprised on what we can find.
Yeah, very interesting
so many interesting stories, guys. One thing before we close out, I just wanted to hear from you. There are a lot of young people probably thinking about making a career in cybersecurity. What's your advice? I mean, how should a young college graduate should think about, if they want to pursue this career?
I think any IT background is going to be extremely helpful. The people that go straight into security, it must be very challenging because there's so many things that you need to be good at or at least understand to be good at security. Our team, everybody has sort of a different background, came from somewhere else, and I think at the end of the day, it makes the team a lot stronger. So you really have to have those fundamental skills down, and maybe you specialize in some area that you once did in depth.
I think a lot of the, this might sound mean, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that they're teaching in the courses necessarily cybersecurity related are just kind of textbooks kind of stuff. But to succeed in these roles, in these red team roles, you kind of need, like Mark was saying, that diverse background and kind of that analytical type thinking and approach. But if I was a college grad right now and I wanted Jared Hoffman's job, I would work to be truthful, this was a passion, and this continues to be a passion. When I was outside of work, I was working on this in some form of fashion, right? I always wanted to improve. So perseverance again, determination again. But it's different for the guys and girls coming up now as opposed to how it was for me even just 14 years ago. The social media platforms have just skyrocketed. It's an easy Google just to see, what are the types of techniques that red teams are doing? What are the types of techniques that state actors are doing, right? That information is freely available. There's so many different platforms that you can work and learn your skill on in terms of hacking and pen testing. There's, private certifications you can go after. But one of the things that I think is big that a lot of the kids are doing, I can't believe those words came out of my mouth. That makes me sound really old that the kids are doing this now. But bug bounty, I don't know if you're familiar with that term. It's basically where organizations will have security programs where they'll say, hey, here's a scope of pages. Feel free to hack it. Do anything and everything you want within the limitations of this scope. And if you find anything, we'll give you, monetary benefits or maybe some swag or some stuff like that. But it's allowing these kids to work from their rooms and just be like, hey, I'm interested in hacking, and this is a really good, easy opportunity to dip my toe in it, and boom, from there, you could just get the ball rolling, get better and better and better and stuff like that. So that would be my approach, hard work and dedication, and don't give up, and then, sprinkle in some training and some certifications.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm very proud of our cybersecurity team. Thank you for protecting New Yorkers, and thank you for your time. Wonderful conversation, and again, keep up your good work. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to It's a Tech Podcast. For more information about ITS, visit our website at its.ny.gov.